All right. Hello, everybody. Are you a Protoss player who wants to learn how to get easy victories over your opponents? Well, look no further. This man is disgusting. He has just changed Protoss play. Harsem did a great video talking about the opening, especially in PvZ. But holy crap, does he have a disgusting follow-up in PvT, which he played 2 Terran players in a row in the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice World Championship, Innovation, and then TY, and they both knew this was coming, and you could tell by the way they played their builds, they thought they knew how to counter it, and they got bopped. After he beat Innovation in this series, he went on to face TY, and I said earlier that day, there's no way Parting could beat a guy as smart as TY if he does the same thing over and over again. Do you know what he did versus TY? The same thing over and over again. Predictably, the exact same build almost every game in both these series. His opening, super predictable, and nobody could stop it. This might be broken. Either way, it's going to force a drastic change of pace for Terran players who scout this coming, and I'll get to talking about how you guys can counter. If you're a Terran looking to understand and how to deal with this, I will break that down at the end of the video. So for now, let's talk about the build order. To start things off, this is basically Parting takes a 17 Nexus rather than the standard 20 Nexus 20 Cybercore. This is the main thing. Harsem talks a lot about that in his video, and I've already tried it and love it for Protoss versus Zerg. 18 Nexus against Zerg, 17 here against Terran. So let's go right back to the start and let's just take a look at this opening. If you guys want the write-up, by the way, there is a write-up down below. There's a link in the description to the Book of Filth 2.0. You can find that also in my Twitch chat anytime, !filth, and it'll link it up. And that's a great little write-up. So first things first, we're going to start with either a 15 or a 16 gateway. He really wants to get it as fast as possible, so he goes 15 gateway here, then queues up the 16th probe. He's then going to send a probe down to his natural. So we get 16 on minerals. The 17th probe, you'll see it changes the rally point down there. And that's going to build a 17 Nexus. So no chrono boosts used on your workers early. Bit of a change up. Probe goes to the natural and drops the Nexus. Don't start probes. Drop a 17 Nexus, 17 gas. Then start a probe. Now, after building your Nexus, you immediately send your probe to your favored proxy location. In this game, it's here. Sometimes he does it up here. Anywhere that's pretty damned close to their base will do. You then stop at 18 supply to build a Cybercore. You then queue up another probe. You start rallying these into your gas geyser. And then 19 pylon. Then go back and queue up another probe. So there's no actual gaps in probe production here, but it's like you build the gas, you start a probe. You build the Cybercore, you start a probe. You build the pylon, you start a probe. So there's a little is how you kind of manage this part of the opening, which is cool. And then he's going to rally this probe to the natural. He likes to do that to check if there's a bunker building. Because he sees the SCVs running into scout, he says, oh, okay, no worries, don't need to worry about that. But he might follow that SCV just to check there's no bunker going up. And he actually did a cute little adjustment. He faked a second gas here, and I think that totally tricked Innovation. The normal thing though, if you're not faking a gas, and what he does here, he did just delay the Adept by a second or two to do that. You make Warp Gate and Adept and you chrono boost both of them, and then you continue to drop 2 more chrono boosts. So 3 total chrono boosts into Warp Gate. It is very important that you do that because you need that Warp Gate to finish exceptionally fast. You then are going to stop at 23 and build this gateway. Let's double check. Let's take a look at the build order really quickly, and I'll show you guys the write-up so you guys can actually see that as well. So let's take a look. Here's the Book of Filth. Parting's unfair 17 Nexus proxy gate, and we go for that 3rd gateway on 24 supply. So there's the build order write-up. There's a few notes below that. But yeah, you get a 3rd gateway there, and that's going to line up with Warp Gate, which will finish at about 310. So then you want all your gateways. As soon as this finishes, you start an Adept, and you'll notice here a Stalker. Now this Stalker doesn't need to start immediately. Notice the Adept was out for a little while. If we go back here, the Adept pops out, and we're focused on getting the 3rd gateway. We're focusing on building probes here out of both Nexi, so it's more or less non-stop probes from here. We don't have the money to start that Stalker straight away. As long as it starts no later than about 2 minutes and 35 seconds, you're totally fine. This Stalker, because you haven't really scouted at all, you don't know what's happening, that can stay at home and defend, but your Adept is going to go across and join up with this Adept. You're going to warp in 3 more, and that's going to be your attack timing. All of this off just 1 gas geyser. There goes the 3rd chrono into Warp Gate. Still building probes, more or less non-stop. And we're going to start a 2nd gas at 3 minutes. Of course, this pylon, important to not get supply blocked here. Let's check the exact timing that Parting goes for that in this game. Looks like he drops it way earlier than necessary. I think it's so if he needs to, he can build a shale battery here. So he's going to drop this pylon at about 34 supply, about 2 minutes 50. And that's, of course, going to make sure he doesn't get supply blocked as he's probing up and warping in units. 2nd gas at 3 minutes. Check it out. Warp Gate's about to finish. So the Adept shades across, joins up with this Adept. warp gate finishes and all 3 gateways transform. So very important to start this adept straight away, because any longer and it delays this turning into a warp gate, which you need because you should be warping in 3 adepts at 3 minutes and 18 seconds. 3 minutes and 18 seconds. And you want to go straight in. You can shade in immediately is what I'd normally do. He just runs in first and shades a little later. And innovation, I think confused by that second gas geyser, did not realize what he was up against, didn't scout the proxy gate, and he's just standing out here with his marines like trying to deny a single adept poke to make it look like he's expanding, completely blindsided by these adepts, and he just loses the game right here. He's like, oh shit. He just panics, builds a reactor, cancels it, gets here, builds a tech lab. He's like, he's trying to do a Hellion drop, which, by the way, Parting didn't realize he was up against a 1-base play. So he should not have warped in these 3 adepts. If you realize you're up against a 1-base play here, you don't continue to commit with your adepts. These 5 adepts can still go and try to bash their way in, but you warp in 3 stalkers at home to defend Hellion drop, some sort of proxy, whatever it is. If you think it could be a Hellion drop, if you warp in, instead of these next 3 adepts, 3 stalkers, especially if you left that stalker at home, you got 4 stalkers at home, you can defend this quite easily. And we'll see as this series goes on, in this scenario, Parting would also have dropped a shield battery in both mineral ions. As it is, Parting's going to take a lot of damage. He ends up using the next warp in of stalkers to defend. He takes a shit ton of damage, and this almost goes awry. If there was a bunker with 5 marines, you can imagine Parting wouldn't be able to do that much damage here, and he'd be pretty screwed because he didn't have that defense at home. Because he caught the marines out front, there's no defense. He just kills with these 7 adepts and the stalker, and it's the easiest win of his life. Okay, cool. Game 1. I mean, yeah, all right. You know, like innovation dropped a game. He got confused by the gas. Like, there's a fake gas. Like, okay, like that's not that impressive, Pig. Like, let's show us another game. Okay, no worries. And exact same build order. 5 adepts shading in. 3 minutes 30. And this bunker, he tries to click on that SCV. It barely finishes in time. Just in the nick of time. Okay, well, you've been held. He's just built his command center. He's doing a 1-base opening once again. He's actually going 3 command center. So he's going to have a way bigger economy. If he can just safely move down to his natural in a little bit, he'll be good. The Reaper comes in to harass. So, I mean, when your opponent's got a full bunker, you shouldn't really be able to break that. But remember, guys, you're doing a build by Parting. And Parting's builds are best executed by someone with an uncontrollable erection. So... just fucking run up the ramp and click on the bunker. Innovation was like, oh, what? He was just too slow to pull SCVs. He was looking at his Reaper. He just never thought in any world would Parting be crazy enough to run up a ramp and try to bust a bunker. But Parting's like, lol. He does crazy damage here and basically wins the game. Even if he didn't run up the ramp and bust that bunker, Parting still has 2 bases and he can keep you off your natural for a really long time. Okay. So is this just broken? I don't know, man. It's pretty friggin' good. People keep dying to it. Gets him to 10 SCVs. This is, once again, game over. Are there any good games in there, Pig? Are there any good games? Is there one where the player adapts really well and defends it? Well, we've got game 1 against TY. TY does a similar sort of build to what we saw in map 1 from Innovation, but he doesn't leave the Marines out front. So this is actually an interesting scenario. Let's look at that in this scenario. There's, hey, 5 adepts go in, 3 minutes 30. And that mistake that Innovation made, oh, TY. Oh no. He's got to put SCVs on it one at a time. They keep just getting focused, so he loses 5 workers on a 1-base build. And I was talking about how if you know they're 1-base, remember you scouted the starport, you want to be safe. You don't warp in extra adepts. You do a round of warpers, a stalker warp in at home, deflects the Hellion pressure, builds a shield battery in both mineral ions. So even with the redrop here, well, check this out, really big brain, TY sends the medevac in to try to distract. He actually mistimed this. So what TY should have done here is boosted this medevac in maybe 1 or 2 seconds earlier to try and get Parting to react and pull his stalkers that way. So he mistimed it slightly, but it comes in with 4 Hellions, which is enough to kill a lot of probes. But Parting here very wisely pulls this probe to attack and block the Hellions from driving in while the other ones pull away. So really smart. And a bit of misfire from TY. There we go, easiest defense of his life. Shades is still just threatening, not really achieving anything. TY is just trying to get up a tank. He's going to move down and take that natural now. Because he knows he's forced the, Parting to be safe at home. Gets an adept. Does lose 2 marines. That's okay, though. Okay, Hellions can't really fight those adepts. And Parting says, hey, buddy. And the thing is, you can see there's so many of these just raw number of gateway unit timings to follow up that are available. And he actually might have been able to bust him here. If he spread these Adepts on top of the Hellions and Marines and dragged a tank shot like here to splash the Marines and Hellions, it might have worked. But Parting does a big doo-doo, accidentally shades on top of the ramp and hits the buildings and doesn't get any splash on the Terran. Storks and Adepts come in, don't do anything. So he kind of takes a bit of an awkward position. But what's really cool here is the follow-up. So in this game, there was a slight variation out of Parting. No second gas at 3 minutes. And I think this is specifically because he scouted that starport. So because he saw the starport and knew exactly what it was, he said, okay, I just need minerals. I don't need gas because I need a shield battery in each base and more Stalker weapons to defend. So he actually skips the gas, does that defense. And what he does is once he realizes, okay, I've done some damage with my Adepts, but I can't actually bust in. Yes, I'll try to pressure the front. I'll see if I can find more. But you're going to notice as soon as he deflects the Hellions, he's going to go gas, gas, gas. So he's going to try and get the tech up so we can go into a normal game. The whole power of this build up to this point is the fact that you get 2 mineral lines up while denying your opponent. So you just get like double the economy of the Terran and you don't let them get their expansion up. Because even if they do an expand build with a bunker, you can sit your Adepts behind the mineral line and they cannot come out of the bunker to fight you. Not unless they have a really early siege tank already hinting at what that counter is. I'll go over that one in detail a little bit later. So basically you get 2 bases up. You're very behind on tech though. This is a 4-minute 30 Twilight Council. It is incredibly late. So what you need to do here is you need to kind of go, okay, all right, we'll try to do what we can with these units, see if we can find damage, which is what he does here. He does this really bad shade. There's a terrible shade. I don't know if he meant to cancel it or what, but it was really bad. And he just goes blink. And he just says, okay, I'll just play a macro game. Let's just take blink, 4 gateways. So he's already got, what, 2 gateways there, a 3rd proxy. As long as he keeps control over this area, he keeps a 3rd gateway up. Hellions actually come in, but he does a quick recall. Not quite the best lineups from TY. Only gets a couple probes, which is not amazing. But behind this, he says, okay, I'll get a robo. We'll get some observers out with that. And just keep warping in Stalkers. I'm going to go Colossus. He just goes for whatever your normal macro follow-up is. He goes for it from there. So this is just awesome play by Parting, who essentially has a big blink pressure here. 3-gate blink, not 4-gate blink. Yeah. Has a 3rd base, and the opponent is pinned back on 2 bases for a while, having to build so much defense because you've got such a big pack of gateway units that are threatening to run in at any moment. Maybe only 1 Stalker if he's lucky. Blinks in and gets the tank, picks off some SCVs, so Parting doing Parting things. Just, you know, good little micro, going up to charge and Colossus behind it. He ends up just overwhelming here, but you can see that TY, even though he gets a 3rd command center up, just not quite able to get fully established. That delay on the natural, there's just this point where it's like, wait, look at the supply, look at the worker count. He's turned that into a fully mining 3rd, a 4th on the way. This is a spectacular build. It gets you set up really well. And he does end up finishing that game in style. Now let's go look at some of the things that take this build to Cucktown. That's right, let's look at some things that make this build look really silly and point out some glaring weaknesses with it. So let's go to game 2 of TY Parting, where we got to see that big TY brain in action as he just tears this down. TY says, all right, you cheeky dick, you're up a game on me. I'm gonna do a Barracks gas. I think he goes a Reaper, yep. Says, okay, I'll go out with a Reaper. I'll do a bit of pressure with that. Scout, what's up? Same build order from Parting, he sees it, does TY, and he pulls the Reaper home. Goes for a quick reactor behind that and straight into Marines and a much earlier bunker, not taking any risks. And he just goes for a Widow Mine drop with one special twist. As people in my Twitch chat as I do this live, pointing this out, what if they make invisible things? Yeah, you fucking lose, don't you? What happens if you have no tech because you're on 1 gas and all you have is probes and gateway units? It turns out invisible things kind of kill you. For those who don't know, there have been a patch about a year ago, whenever it was. If you have an armory, Widow Mines never reveal themselves. Whereas a normal Widow Mine, once it fires, it is revealed until it recharges and then it becomes invisible again. But he basically says, hey, I know you don't have any tech with this build. And even though this time, because the bunker was up, Parting was going into that same blink transition from the previous game, 4 gases blink, his robo is just about to start in response to seeing that the Widow Mine is indeed invisible. For those who don't know, you can tell if there's an armory or not by this red line above the Widow Mine. This little red light out of the top of the Widow Mine tells you that's an armory Widow Mine and you're going to need detection to clear that one. So, behind this, what is the follow-up? What the He's building a Thor and another Thor? TY here is planning to pull a shit ton of SCVs to come and repair one big boy Thor with a whole bunch of Marines and a medevac. And the medevac can pick the Thor up and micro it around and bring it across the map quickly. Sickest build of all time from TY. Now, it doesn't have to be a Thor all in. You could just expand and do other things and play more of a normal game. But you're going to notice at home, Parting has nothing he can do, dude. Like, he goes back to mine. He's like, well, this Robo's, I'm not going to have an observer for a minute and a half. So he goes back to mine. And then, I mean, if he was super sick, he could maybe try to remember when the Widow Mines are going to fire and pull his probes away as he tries to do that here and stuff. But he's still like, oh my God, he's losing all these probes. So these Widow Mine fires as well. Check this out. Why does he leave? Because at the same time as he's trying to micro his probes, he's like, yeah, maybe I could do some pressure on the other side of the map. I'll get this Reaper, I'll warp in 2 Stalkers. It's a bait, the Marines come in. TY timed that out so that distraction would happen as the Widow Mines were firing again, just to stack that up. Parting just GG's. He doesn't have detection. A Banshee, an Armory, there are multiple things that this is a bit weak to. However, wait a second, what if this was a Robo? He could have started an Observer, lost only a few probes, built an Observer instead of Blink, got it out before they fire again, cleaned up these Widow Mines, and then what do we have? We have a 40 probe Protoss on 3-gate production versus a Terran on 1 base on 24 SCVs. So as powerful and awesome and big brain as this response was, can you keep doing this? No, because the next time Parting's in this situation, he's just going to make a Robo instead of a Twilight and delay his Blink a little bit, and he's going to be completely happy with that. So this is actually a bit of a problem there for him, and does cause an issue. All right, so let's look at one last game here of Parting's bullshit PvT, because we see a very different response from TY in this game. Once again, a little bit 1-base centric, which is not the way to deal with it. So we're going to watch this, and I'm going to talk to you guys at the end of this video about what I think the answer is to this build order. So TY scouts it. He knows that's a very fast Nexus. This looks like it, only 1 gas, and he scouts the gate. Now he comes out and does a really cute response. He rallies Marines out, brings 3 SCVs, and just says, I'm just going to depower this. All you're going to be able to do is build 1 Adept at a time. It won't be able to beat my 3 Marines plus SCVs, especially not with my 1-base factory building a Hellion to rally out. So if you come over here with your Adept, you're going to have a bad time. Commits to a bunker, forces the cancel, and just pulls back. And he does once again the Hellion drop. And I've mentioned how I don't think that's the right response. I think even if you want to do a 1-base build, would the Armory have worked this game? That's something I want to wonder. Because he goes Twilight again. You got to remember that Parting's what we call a friggin' psychopath. So he doesn't go detection one more time here. Does he see the Hellions? No. So this could easily be the same. He sees no expansion. This could easily be the Armory drop. Parting's response to this is to just go 3 gas this time, not 4 gas, because he didn't get a chance to do the aggressive warp-ins on the front and stuff. So he went into the gas a bit quicker in response to his gateway, but he's still got 2 gateways at home. And he just goes Blink. He does start a Robo. So he's like, oh, there could be a Widow Mine drop with Armory coming in soon. I don't know what it is. So he does put the Robo down a bit sooner this time. So there is an adaptation, but he's got the shield battery in each base. Plus, he's got 2-gate production. Even though he only built 4 gateway units, this is the lightest on the defense Parting's been in any of these games. A Hellion Marine attack. It's a good idea against someone being super greedy. This is where I want to talk about the fundamental mistake that the Terran players were making in their understanding and assumptions about Parting's build. In any normal Protoss build order, if you proxy a gateway on the other side of the map, that is half of your production. 1 gateway at home, 1 gateway on their side. In this build, it is 3 gateways total. Parting loses nothing here, not a single unit. He just overcharges. That's it, and defends it. Easy. Gets 1 Stalker at damage. That's it. So what is the problem? The problem is people are playing as if, well, if I get rid of that gate or I shut it down, or you've got units on my side of the map, you can't possibly defend. What you've got to realize is you're playing a guy whose warp gate is done at 3 minutes and 10 seconds and has 3 gateways, if you let the gateway up, or 2 in this case, warping in units. He's always going to have an abundance of units to defend a Hellion drop, unless you completely surprise him with where you come from, a Marine attack, a Marauder attack, any aggressive move is not going to be good, because on a fundamental level, Parting, yes, he's rushing his economy up a bit. So you think, well, I'm 1 base, he's 2 base, I should be ahead. But he's not getting gas, and he's delaying his tech a massive amount of time. All of his money is in economy and defense. Economy and defense / offense, those gateway units. Attacking into this is not the right way to take care of it. It misunderstands the fact that the way to take advantage is to shut down his aggression and get your own economy up. And that is what I think the big problem was. Of course, TY massively overextends and Parting just absolutely destroys him. So let's talk a little bit about what I think the response should be. And to do that, let's just take a gander at... Parting actually showed this in GSL as well. Big shout out to Harston, the legend, who pointed this one out to me. He linked this. He's like, hey, no one realized Parting already did this build in the GSL. against Cure. And I was like, what? No, he didn't. He's like, yeah, he did. Everyone was talking about the mistakes Cure made. No one realized, and I'm sorry I'm blocking the overlay, it really doesn't matter. It was the exact same build. Warping in 3 Adepts on the front, off 3 gateways at 3 minutes and 18, all on 1 gas. And check this out. He shades in. Now Cure makes a huge mistake here. A huge mistake, and lets him up the ramp. But let's imagine that doesn't happen. At this point, 3 minutes 30, you are in their natural with 5 Adepts. An Adept kicks the shit out of 2 Marines, for those who don't know. You want 3 Marines per Adept to fight it. Now, what can the Terran have at this point? They could have a Hellion or a Widowmine if they wanted to. However, if they don't have that, what have they got? Well, they got Marines. How many? Maximum 7. He has 7 Marines. Cure has clearly done a Marine first into Reactor here in this game, or maybe even a Reactor first. Non-stop building Marines. He has 7 Marines. That's the most Marines they'll ever have. You got 5 Adepts. They can't fight that away from the bunker. So you can always, at the very least with this build, take up residence in the mineral line and deny their mining. Now, what they actually need to defend that is they need to get the siege tank out and plant it next to the bunker so that their whole base is covered and never let you shade up the main. If they do that, they're safe. But they need to get a very early siege tank next to the bunker. They will still lose a bit of mining time in their natural for the first shade in, but then once they're sieged up, the Adepts just have to get out of there. As long as they're quick to repair the tank and or the bunker, if a YOLO attack comes in, they should be able to hold on. But you got to siege that tank on the low ground where it covers the entire natural. Raise your wall when ready, and you will be fine. That is what you've got to do. And Cure was almost there, but he didn't raise the wall, and that's what was such a bummer. So if we go back in game and take a look at this and imagine, basically, as a Terran player, command center here, bunker here, those Adepts shade in, you just got to box these SCVs and mules, run them over to the bunker, get your tank out, siege it up here, and I think you're fine. Now, is that the end of the game? Is it game over at that stage? If we go back to this, you know, this sort of game, or I mean, this is a bit of a different game to a normal one because this is the one where his proxy gate was done. All right, that's a good point. Doesn't feel like there's much punishment for a failed proxy by Protoss, says Brainer. That's because this is not a failed proxy. This is a very specific build where there is still a ton of minerals behind it. If someone goes 2 gas, 1 base, proxies a Stargate, you shut that down, game friggin' over. This is not that. In this scenario, it's such a different sort of gameplay, right? You've got to keep in mind that in this scenario, the Protoss is still building a sick economy. What they're giving up is tech. And that's what you want to take advantage of with anything you do. Whether with the power of bunker and a tank to just completely defend, because they can only get in on the front, you defend the natural, you defend the attack. Or, as we see in this game, right? But he doesn't get the bunker up, and he's a little bit slow to get the natural up. But if he just went for this sort of defense earlier, this tank here, look, that covers everything. I'd actually like it up 1 or 2 spaces. You have a bunker there, a tank there. It really does cover everything. And it forces the Protoss then to just go to the next stage of the game. And what can you take advantage of there? What is the weak point of Protoss in this build? So if you're looking to take advantage of it, and this is something you've got to understand, when you're doing a very aggressive build like this, you've got to remember, what is the weak point? The tech is so late. So anytime we think about executing this build and transitioning out of it, likewise, anytime we think it countering this as the opponent, if we're playing Terran, we've got to understand tech is really late. So maybe you're normally worried about blink into the main at 5 minutes. You don't need to worry about it till 7 minutes. Maybe you're worried about they always have Colossus ready for my 2-3 tank push. They're not going to have Colossus ready for a 3 tank push. So there is a lot of... Wow, that was brutal, but that was really cool. That shade. Oh my God, I missed this the time before. Not this one, but the next one. Look at this. Look at this 1 Adept. Take 1 for the team. Oh my God, what an absolute champion. Oh, parting is so abusive, dude. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Oh my God, it just killed like 8 Marines. Maybe not 8, but like 4. And there's like, got the rest of the red. Brutal. So essentially, you could go for a fast counter push with a few tanks. They're not going to have blink ready to wear you down on the map. You could go do a big tank bunker counter push. So you defend, go for a push, and aim to hit just before their tech really kicks in, right? Look at this. Parting's on 3 base with, what has he got? He's got unupgraded Stalkers. That's all he has in this game till what? The 7-minute mark, right? 6:30 maybe? Yeah. He's got unupgraded Stalkers till 6:30. So there are push timings where you can say, well, if I can get stim and shields ready at 6 minutes after defending and just do a big bio push, maybe I can just fucking come. There's lots of options. You could also just opt for a 3rd command center. And once you got the tank in the bunker, maybe you don't need many other safety precautions. Maybe you can just go command center, double engineering bay, 5 barracks. Why? Because there is no Warp Prism, there is no Blink, there's no way they can do any of the normal things they can do to you. Parting here, once you understand his build on a fundamental is two things. It's 2 bases of economy and a whole bunch of gateway units, but everything else is miles behind. Once you understand that, you understand how you can counter this as a Terran. You also understand as a Protoss player why you want to hit your timings just right and do damage and fuck them up. Or if people get good at countering this, you want to recognize when they've scouted it and countering, and maybe only build the first 5 adepts and already be going into a really quick charge Colossus or something like that. You know, have a transition on the way. Don't overcommit to the push. Try to give off the idea of I'm overcommitting. They build 2 bunkers and 3 siege tanks, and you're like, oh, it was just 5 adepts. I shaded in, denied mining, shaded out, and that was it. And I'm transitioning to the next stage. So there's going to be a really interesting meta as people do this, as Terrans refine figuring it out. How the hell do we get better at transitioning out of his Protoss and deal with it as Terran players? Stay tuned. If this hangs around for a while and it evolves, we might do a follow-up video letting you guys know any of the extra details on how to execute it, how to adapt and transition out of it, as well as any more details. I think a bunker and an early tank is the way to shut it down. Like I said, any invisible build is going to be really good if they go straight for Twilight afterwards. If they start getting faster Robos or Stargates like Oracles, detection will be good. But I did have my friend Ryan, he mentioned he practiced this 4GG on the ladder, defended with a very quick bunker and attack, and he couldn't get any damage done. He said also 4GG proxied his starport and went in with Cloaked Banshees and ruined his day with 2 Cloaked Banshees. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And he messaged 4GG about it, and 4GG was like, yeah, that build's really good. Like, that's hard to counter, but I think this is the best response. So that's 4GG. I was suggesting that, and Ryan actually said, yeah, that's what 4GG did, but we had a proxy Banshee as well. Cool details there. We'll see how this evolves over the coming weeks. Thank you for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed this update on Parting's unbeatable, overpowered, and disgusting PvT.